Bong Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
Top of the morning to you. It's Tuesday, the 18th day of March 2025. And today, as always, we'll take a look at commodity reports and activities from selected exchanges on the opening bell segment. Business news stories from around Africa and the rest of the world will come to you on Global Business. We'll also take a look at issues affecting businesses in the southeastern part of Nigeria on the Eastern Business Report. And then finally, activities and conversations from around the market will come to you on Afia. The Afia Business Morning takes center stage every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange is open today. The exchange in London opened an hour ago. The New York exchange is yet to open, while in China, opening bells went off at 2 a.m. local time. Welcome to the opening bell segment. Before we get into those juicy updates with reference to, of course, our activities from our selected exchanges, let's bring you up to speed on some business news stories making the rounds. Starting from the Continental Economy, was reported that Ethiopian Airlines getting a boost from the African Development Bank for its ambitious project. Story has it that Ethiopian Airlines, one of Africa's top airlines situated primarily in Ethiopia, has recently signed a deal with the African Development Bank, AFDB, to work on an airport project where both parties inked a memorandum of understanding concerning the Bishoftu International Airport Development Project in Ethiopia. And away from that, the global economy is reported as stranded U.S. astronauts to return to Earth. Story has it that the pair of U.S. astronauts Barry Batch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who have been stuck for more than 9 months on the International Space Station ISS, will be returning to Earth this evening. This is according to National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. We'll bring you details of the stories and more on the global business segment. And away from that, let's jump onto the floors of our featured exchanges, and like they say, charter begins at home. So we start off on the floors of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the NGX All-Share Index, as of yesterday, closed on a low, falling by 0.19% to close at 105,799.19 points. I'm interested to know that a total of 477,512,939 shares valued at 7,049,292,125 naira at 91 couple, which traded across 13,522 with equity capitalization of 66,343,881,016,109 naira and 93 kobo. Away from that, let's take a look at the biggest gainers and losers of the day. The biggest gainer of the day was Academy, which rose by 9.92%. Other gainers were the likes of Nemeth, Tantalizer, Dangote, Sugar and Stanbic IBTC. On the other hand, however, eTransact topped the losers list with a decline of 10%. Other losers were the likes of Suna Shore, Prestige, Sovereign Insurance and Red Star Export. We'll take a break at this moment, and when we return, we'll be looking at activities from other selected exchanges. I'm talking about the likes of the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and the Chinese Stock Exchange, which of course comprises the Shenzhen and Shanghai exchanges. The Afia Business Morning and indeed Opening Bell. We'll be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. You're welcome back to the Afia Business Morning, and you were watching Opening Bell. We're moving straight to the floors of other featured exchanges. New York Stock Exchange is our next. Mostly rises index values across board, except of course for the Nasdaq Composite and the Nasdaq 100, which are both down at 0.28% and 0.09% respectively. However, the NYC Composite DJ is up at 1.89%. NYC US 100 index is up 1.53%, though just industrial average is up also at 1.65%. S&P 500 index up 2.13%, and the NYC FANG TM index is up with a huge margin of 3.23%. And moving on, let's take out what's happening as far as the London Stock Exchange is concerned. It is all rises. Main index values across the board. FTSE 100 is upward to 1.05%. FTSE 250 is also up at 1.56%. FTSE 350 up 1.11%, and the FTSE All-Share Index also up with the same value of 1.11%. Now we're moving over to Asia, stopping over the exchange in China, and Shenzhen is our first point of call. Is well, mostly dips, except of course for the ZSE Composite Index, which is up at 2.05%. However, the Shenzhen Confidence Index, the China X Index, both down at 0.19% and 0.52% respectively. Now, while we remain in China, let's move over to the exchange at Shanghai. It's also mostly dips, except of course for the SSE Composite Index and the SSE 380 Index, which are both up at 1.81% and 1.59% respectively. However, the SSE 50 Index is down 0.09%. The Star 50 Index is down 0.45%. The SST 180 Index and the CSI 300 Index both down at 0.19% and 0.24% respectively. We're going to quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking at commodity prices as well as a consumer price watch in the open market. And just before the break, let me remind you that there is an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and 31st March 2025, with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, visit www.fundzweb.com/brandwars or download the FundZ app available on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send SMS or WhatsApp message to the number 09155334949. This program is powered by FundZ and Landmark Africa, citizen sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Obalende Enigo. The Afia Business Morning, we'll be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. My name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Apamaga.
I am Shioma Akbala.
My name is Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm living in our market speaking.
Glad to have you rejoin us. I am Ubong Kings. It's still the Afia Business Morning, and you're watching Up and Bell right here on Afia TV. It's time to check in on commodity prices, and we would start with precious metals. And this upward movement from gold to down, indeed, almost all precious metals except for silver, which is down 0.10%. Gold is up 0.50%. Platinum and palladium are both up 0.49%, 0.26% respectively. Our next up is energy, and we find out that it mostly dips in index values across board. The only commodities that are up are oil, Brent, Brass River, and Quipo, which are both all up at 1%, 0.85% and 0.84% respectively. However, natural gas is down 0.17%, ethanol is down 0.29%, coal is down 0.46%, oil bonylite is also down at a huge margin of 2.84%. And moving on, industrial metals is our next point of call. It's mostly rises in index values across board, except of course for aluminium and iron ore, which are both down at 0.93% and 0.56%. However, lead is up at 0.82%, copper is up 0.58%, nickel, zinc, tin also up 1.36%, 1.78%, and a whooping 6.74% respectively. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning. This indeed is opening bell. And just quickly to remind you that there's an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show, as registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025 with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, you may want to visit www.fanzyweb.com/brandwars, or you get to download the Fanzy mobile app and Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send us a message on WhatsApp messages to 091 5533 4949. This program, by the way, is powered by Fancy and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Mecca Studio, Soy Multimedia Studios, and Balende Enego. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at the hikes in prices of food commodities in the open market, as well as the hikes in fuel prices. On that note, I'll see you tomorrow on the Open Bell when the exchange is reopened for trading. The Afia Business Morning will be right back with Global Business. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned. Thank you for rejoining me on the Afia Business Morning. Welcome to Global Business. And here, we will take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and indeed the rest of the world. My name is Ubong Kings. Here are the headlines that we're tracking at the moment. Starting out from Africa, where it's reported that Ethiopian Airlines are getting a boost from the African Development Bank for its ambitious project. And in a rather heartwarming report, stranded U.S. astronauts to return to Earth this evening. And then from Asia, Thailand approves $2.7 billion of investments in data centers. We'll bring you details of these stories and more right after this time out. Stay tuned. You're watching Global Business right here on Alpha Business Morning, and we will begin with stories from Africa, where it's reported that Botswana, the world's top diamond producer, is looking to attract wealthy young American platforms. However, as part of this strategy, Botswana hosted an exclusive luxury event in New York's Greenwich Village last week, treating social media influencers to a fine dining experience at the Michelin-starred restaurant, as the goal was to persuade affluent millennials and Gen Z consumers to choose natural diamonds over lab-grown alternatives. Meanwhile, synthetic gems have greatly driven down prices for lower quality stones, posing a major blow to the South African nation, which derives 30 to 40% of its revenue and 75% of its foreign exchange earnings, and a third of its national output from sales of rough diamonds. Furthermore, the country is emphasizing the traceability of its natural diamonds, ensuring that they can be authenticated as originating from Botswana mines through blockchain technology. This is according to Bogolo Kewendo, Botswana's 37-year-old mines minister. Now, if you ask me, a lot of things jump at me from this story, right? The first will be number one, Botswana hosted an exclusive luxury event in New York's Greenwich Village just last week. Number two, the purpose was to persuade affluent millennials and Gen Z consumers to choose natural diamonds over lab-grown alternatives. And then number three, Botswana is pretty much emphasizing the traceability of its natural diamonds. We're going to get to that in a bit. And then number four is the fact that by using some form of blockchain technology authentication, they could actually tell if that, diamond originated from Botswana mines. Plus, number five, key point, Botswana has a 37-year-old mines minister. Now, what do you make of this? I don't see this sort of deliberateness, as it were, from the Nigerian government in attracting investors, especially being driven by a young person at the helm of affairs. Now, this reminds me, what happened to the not too young to rule movement that was peddled in Nigeria for a season? Or whatever happened to the embracing of global trends, especially in the blockchain space? Now, of course, it does not seem to me that Nigeria is open, as it were, maybe in little portions or pockets open to this blockchain space, which seems to be the next big thing, especially on the with the advent of artificial intelligence, AI. Now, this is even though the national blockchain, that's Nigeria now, the national blockchain policy for Nigeria was approved by the Nigerian government in May 2023 to establish a blockchain-based economy. Hold up, a blockchain-based economy that supports secure transactions, data sharing, and value exchange among individuals, businesses, and government. But the question now is, how much of this has been implemented? Well, your guess is as good as mine, because you see, truth of the matter is, if all of these transactions are put on the blockchain, what happens is you hardly find someone who can tamper with those figures. well, let me where it is. And moving on, and still from Africa right now. This time moving to Ethiopia, where it's reported that Ethiopian Airlines, one of Africa's top airlines situated primarily in Ethiopia, has recently signed a deal with the African Development Bank, AFDB, to work on an airport project, where both parties inked a memorandum of understanding concerning the Bishoftu International Airport Development Project in Ethiopia. Now, however, to meet the increasing demand for passengers and cargo, Ethiopian Airlines initiated the $7.8 billion project, and by 2040, the new airport hopes to handle 60 million passengers annually, up from 17 million. Meanwhile, during the signing event, Ethiopian Finance Minister Ahmed Shide emphasized Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's economic reforms and praised the AFDB for its support, which included $1.2 billion in investments. Furthermore, outside the partnership on the new airport project, Ahmed Shide said the Development Bank asked the Development Bank to assist the macroeconomic reform program and transformative projects related to renewable energy and regional integration, among other things. Just hold on for a moment. Let's put a couple of things in perspective, right? Primarily, I would need to emphasize that the Ethiopian Airlines is wholly owned and operated, as it were, by the Ethiopian government. Meanwhile, Ethiopian Airlines was established by the Ethiopian government in 1945. And that brings me to a lot of things to mind. The Nigerian Airways, how far? Well, I'm interested to know that 13 years later, 23rd August 1958, more specifically, Nigerian Airways was founded. Yet, Ethiopian Airlines, which is far older, by way of, when it was founded, is still in existence. And Nigerian Airways, well, defunct. Now, the AFDB, that's the African Development Bank, had supported the Ethiopian Airlines with as much as $1.2 billion in investments. Yeah. Meanwhile, are you also aware that Nigeria dissolved its agreement with Ethiopian Airlines for the proposed Nigeria Air joint venture? The Nigeria Air project was officially launched in May 2023. However, Nigerian government's decision to cancel the joint venture did highlight the significant economic risks associated with ceding majority control of a national asset to a foreign entity. Now, in case you're wondering why Nigeria had to, cancel that deal, their original deal, as it were, because it was supposed to be done with Ethiopian Airlines, by the way, just so you know. Now, the original deal would have given Ethiopian Airlines a 49% stake, almost 50% stake in Nigerian Air. Now, listen to this part, this is the interesting part. While the Nigerian government would have held only a 5% stake. You get it now? Because this lopsided ownership structure would have severely limited Nigeria's ability to make strategic decisions and control its national carrier. Now, with a majority stake, Ethiopian Airlines could have engaged in, well, monopolistic practices, such as limiting competition on specific routes, setting unfair prices, and prioritizing its interests over those of Nigerian consumers and the local aviation industry. Now, this risk of monopolistic behavior is not unique to the Nigerian Air Ethiopian Airlines partnership. But after all of this drama, right, what plans are underway, as it were, to revive the Nigerian Airways? I guess your guess is as good as my guess. You're still watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning on Afia TV. And just before we take a break, I want to remind you that there is an opportunity for you to win as much as 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025 with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fantasyweb.com/brandwars or download the Fonzie app available on Google Play and iOS stores. And for inquiries, call, send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 09155334949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, Balande, Enugu. We'll be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. You're welcome back to the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV. You're still watching Global Business. Down to the rest of our stories. This time we're moving to stories from the Asian continent, where it's reported that Thailand has approved a 90.9 billion baht worth of investments in data centers and cloud services, which is the latest addition to the country's expanding tech sector, where the projects include data centers from China's Beijing Huayang Cloud and Data Technology, Singapore-based Imperion Digital, and Thai company GSA Data Center O2. Beijing's Huayang's plan in Thailand includes a 300-megawatt data center valued at 72.7 billion baht, while the Thai firm has proposed a 13.5 billion baht investment for a 35-megawatt data center. Recall that in January, ByteDance's TikTok announced plans in Thailand, Southeast Asia's second biggest economy, to set up a data hosting service valued at 126.8 billion baht. And last year, Alphabet's incorporated Google said it will invest $1 billion in Thailand, which followed Amazon Web Services announcing a $5 billion investment in the country over the next 15 years. Now, key point in the story for me would be Thailand is pretty much Southeast Asia's second largest economy and has pretty much attracted investments from the likes of ByteDance, TikTok, setting up data hosting services valued at 126.8 billion baht as of last year. Alphabet incorporated Google, $1 billion in Thailand. Amazon Web Services, $5 billion in Thailand over the next 15 years. Now it is China's Beijing's Huayang Cloud and Data Technology. Then, of course, there's a Singapore-based Imperion Digital, and then Thai company GSA Data Center O2. Now the question is, how come all of these multinationals, these companies even from the US, are investing in Thailand? I'll tell you. Now, Thailand, like I did say, yes, indeed, is the second largest economy in Southeast Asia. Now, this is because, or largely due to its successful shift, its successful shift from an agricultural to an export-oriented manufacturing base, with strong industrial and service sectors and strategic location within the Asian region, which facilitates trade and investment. Now, question. How now has Nigeria been able to make that shift from oil to non-oil industries, especially agriculture, science and tech? Well, I rest my case. And in an attempt to end this bulletin very quickly, let's tell you that a pair of US astronauts, Barry Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who have been stuck for more than 9 months on the International Space Station, ISS, will be returning to Earth this evening. This is according to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. The stranded astronauts are to be transported home with another American and a Russian cosmonaut aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon craft, which arrived at the ISS earlier Sunday. The stranded duo have been on the ISS since June after the Boeing Starliner spacecraft they were testing and its maiden crewed voyage suffered propulsion issues and was deemed unfit to fly them back to Earth. Significantly, their prolonged stay was longer than the standard ISS rotation for astronauts of roughly 6 months, and is much shorter than the US space record of 371 days set by NASA astronaut Frank Rubio aboard the ISS in 2023, or the world record held by Russian cosmonaut Valery Polyakov, who spent 437 continuous days aboard the Mir space station. Now, if you ask me, I would say that this is more or less a sign of relief that these astronauts are finally coming back to Earth, and from what was a 2-day mission, we turned into months. And taking us further, Global News tells us more as they took the time to look at how SpaceX Dragon Crew 10 arrived at ISS as stranded NASA astronauts prepare to return home. Let's take a look.
SpaceX capsule successfully arrived at the International Space Station with the replacements for those 2 NASA astronauts who've been stuck in space.
SpaceX Crew 10, welcome aboard ISS.
Crew 10 has had a great journey up here, about 28 hours to get back up to the space station, and I cannot tell you the immense joy of our crew when we looked out the window and we saw the space station for the first time. Returning for a couple of people, very first time for a couple of people. And let me tell you, that is such an amazing journey. You can hardly even put it into words. The ride up on the Falcon 9, orbiting the Earth for the last couple of days, it's been absolutely incredible, and it is something that none of us could do by ourselves. As we've said before, you cannot be great without the greatness of others, and I tell you, the greatness of the ground control teams have really shined through in the last few days getting us up here safely.
The 4 newcomers will spend the next few days learning the station's ins and outs from Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams. Then it'll be time for those two to end their unexpected 9-month stay in space and finally head home.
Houston, thank you for tuning in this early morning. It was a wonderful day. Great to see our friends arrive. So thank you so much.
Oh well, we're filled with this story as well as other stories. Stay on forward and keep you in the loop. And well, on that note, I want to say a huge thank you to you for joining me on the Global Business segment of the Afia Business Morning. We'll take a short break, and coming up next will be the Eastern Business Report. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning. This is the Eastern Business Report, which is designed to bring you up to speed on business activities and policies affecting businesses and the economy of the southeastern region of Nigeria. It comes right after Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. And on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report, we'll be looking at quite a number of special reference to stable state economy, the role of youth entrepreneurship, and we're going to be focusing, as it were, on the $30 billion target of Enugu state government. And that's going to be the focus of our conversation here. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome. You're welcome back to the Eastern Business Report, and yes, I did say before the break that we're going to be looking at a stable state economy, the role of youth entrepreneurship, and we're going to be focusing on the $30 billion target of Enugu state government. And joining me on this conversation is none other than Timothy Ugochukwu Nnamani, who is the founder and executive director, Youth Awakening and Development Initiative, YADI. It's good to have you join me.
Thank you.
This morning. It's been ages. I mean, this is the first time this year, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So Happy New Year.
I wish you the same.
So quickly,
it's good to see you.
Pleasure is mine anyway. So what are your thoughts? First, let's start with what are your thoughts on this $30 billion target of the Enugu state government? Let's start there.
Okay, I think the $30 billion target is, I think, first of all, we must, confirm that it's a very, very ambitious target. And at the same time, also commend the governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Barrister Peter Ndubisi for such a bold step. Now, if you rewind back a bit, I think it was in 2021 that we witnessed what was regarded as the highest GDP Enugu State has made so far. And that was around, I think, 1.4 trillion naira, which was around 1.02 or $4 billion as at then. So looking at what he is doing now and the target he has set in, I mean the current governor of Enugu State and his team, the state government, looking at what he is doing, and then the intentionality to have this target achieved is quite commendable, because it is one thing to set targets, theoretical targets, and then it is also another thing to also put apparatus in place to ensure that these targets are met at the end of the day. So when you study his body language, his movements, his plans, strategic plan so far, you would understand that there's actually a practical intention to achieve this target. And of course, we know that the moment this target is achieved, it would most definitely reflect on the standard of living of the people of Enugu State, which of course would also ensure the stability of the economy and put Enugu State ahead of other states and open up Enugu State for further investment. So the target is a very, very commendable one. It's a very, very commendable one.
Okay, now from your point of view, do you think it's a feasible target? 30 billion, jumping from 4 billion to 30 billion in a month.
I do not think it is. It's achievable. It is achievable. Now, excuse me. When I look at when I studied his plans, when I looked into his plan, I found out that the GDP or his targets. He has about it is built on about 3 sectors: agribusiness, industrialization, and infrastructural development. Now, when you look at these factors or this apparatus that he has also set in place, you find out that there are more tendencies of achieving the target than not achieving it. Now, I don't want to return us back to what everyone is seeing that is doing. You know, the bus terminals in Enugu State, the revamping of the presidential hotel, the international conference centers, and so many other infrastructural development is putting together. Now, when you look at the effect, of these things it's putting together, you find that there are more tendencies of achieving that particular target, and even more than not achieving it. So I think it is feasible. And if there is a consistency in what the governor is actually doing at the moment, if there is a consistency and there is a continuity in that, I believe that the target will be achieved and even beyond.
Okay, now, thank you. Quickly, quite a number of arguments have arisen with reference to this target. In as much as usually a lot of persons, schools of thought exist, I mean, in reference to this anyway, quite a number of them were of the opinion that yes, it's feasible, but what are the things on ground already to make that happen? You already mentioned some things. Well, a school of thought did say that one major thing that would happen to achieve that dream or that ambition of $30 billion target would be that there probably be some form of increase in taxation.
Well, if you look at Nigeria as a whole, we are very, very quick to respond to some certain things, especially when it comes to criticizing the government in power at the moment. Now, I often tell people that if the government in power, are focusing on taxation, and then you could see the ripple effect of this taxation, you could see the infrastructural development, you could see the industrialization, you could see the value of the taxation, the taxes you're being collected from, and all of that. I do not think that it is a problem. But then, if you look at the government of Enugu State, I do not think that they are majorly focused on taxation. And if you look at, like I mentioned earlier, the bus terminals, the revamping of the international conference center that is actually set right now, and the hospitals and so many other things. I don't want to go into the education sector and then maybe point out the smart school that he's putting together to encourage human development. Now, when you look at the apparatus that he's putting together, I do not think that his government is focused majorly on taxation. But of course, taxation is a pivotal aspect, for every government to be able to run the governance effectively. The most important thing here is the taxes that we are paying. Are we seeing the effect of the taxes? And if you look at Enugu State, I mean, you find out there's been a disruptive change in Enugu State, security-wise and all of that. So I don't believe that the $30 billion target is focusing majorly on taxation. I'm not a proponent of such school of thought.
Okay, great. And let's move away from that very quickly. Well, we'll touch on some other issues with reference to that, but let's leave it for now. And let's talk about entrepreneurship. I mean, we're talking about a stable state economy. We're also talking about the role of youth entrepreneurship in all of this. How do you factor in youth entrepreneurship in all of this, considering, number one, the dire state of the economy, first and foremost? I mean, we already clearly see, I mean, the Naira is not holding up so much against the dollar. We clearly see that the transportation cost is still up. I mean, compared to the fact that we know that petrol price has come down a little bit, but transportation is still the same. As a matter of fact, even food stuff is still going up. But really, how do you marry this entrepreneurship drive with stable economy on one side and the reality on ground?
Okay, I think first of all, we may need to assess these things maybe by states. I'm using Enugu State as an example. Now, when you come down to Enugu State, I think one of the first things that the government of Enugu State has done is to ensure security in Enugu State. Try to put in security apparatus, and I think if you go around Enugu State, you'll find it very difficult to have a place where you wouldn't find a CCTV camera. Now, these things are put in place to ensure security. Now, why am I mentioning this aspect? Now, I'm mentioning it because entrepreneurship cannot thrive in an environment that the lives and the properties of people are not secured. A secured environment is a viable environment for business. So, businesses or entrepreneurship, as you've asked, where you are looking at marrying the boat. Now, we are in an era where we are trying to correct some certain mentalities of our young people. That is where we, organizations like what we run in Enugu State, come in. Now, we're trying to make them understand that this is the ideal path to the, to the life of affluence that you may need. We are not an organization that try to put our mind away from the prevailing economic situation, but we're trying to focus your mind on what you can actually do to actually help yourself. Some of the issues that you have pointed out already, the increment in prices of food, these are factors that are worth considering. But at the same time, if you are a determined individual to actually help yourself, entrepreneurship should be a venture that everyone ought to venture or ought to go into. Now, it is when you have actually found your footing, that's when you begin to also contribute and to ensure that, like the food, the prices of food and everything, when there are more people into this selling of our food stuff and all of that, I mean, there are more possibilities of the prices coming down. And then there are so many other factors that needs to be considered. So I think when you're looking at marrying the state of the economy and then the entrepreneurship, I think I would say that entrepreneurship is actually a way to solve the prevailing economic situation, if we can actually understand the value or the effect of entrepreneurship, which we are trying to actually make our young people understand the value of entrepreneurship. When we focus on entrepreneurship, we can be able to correct many of the prevailing situations today.
Okay, and I'm reminded of a certain research I saw some time ago that said about 80 to 90% of every economy is actually being held up by small and medium enterprises. And the question I want to ask right now is, how do you see, I mean, because I'm on the business deck, so I get to see and I know that quite a number of businesses are folding up day in, day out. As a matter of fact, some don't even see the light of day. It only ends on paper that this is the business I want to do, but capital, whatever it takes to start the business, is not even available in the first instance. So how does one, you said entrepreneurship, how does one now get out of that place where he's still on the drawing board to literally start the business?
Okay, one is, for me as a person, I would say that the first step is getting the requisite skill. That is number one. I think we are in a society where if I see you doing well in your line of business, and then I begin to admire what you're doing, and then I wouldn't understand the intricacies of the business that you are into. Then I wouldn't take my time to understand the principles, the tenets of this business, what it takes to grow this business. Now, what I'm seeing is the affluence you're living because of the effect of this business on you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't take my time to train myself. I don't take my time to learn about this business. Eventually, when you want to venture into this business, failure becomes inevitable because you've not gotten what it takes to sustain this business, even if you end up starting the business. Now, it is important that even when you want to venture into entrepreneurship, for an example, you must also understand the norms. You must also understand the tenets. Now, the government cannot provide everything that you need. I keep saying it. The government, the organization that we run today, we don't wait for the government to come in to support what we are doing, for us to be able to support young people, going into entrepreneurship. Some of them don't even wait for our support. There are people that we have trained already that are doing so well. They didn't need our support. What they needed was to be trained, to get this requisite skill. So when they have this skill, I mean, for you to have a determination that you want to go into a particular business, there's already a plan, a practical plan. Okay, this is what I need. I need to get the skill. I need to acquire the knowledge, the practical knowledge that will help me sustain this business when I eventually start it. So the problem we have in our society today is that we are very, very quick to venture into businesses, and we are not patient. Building a business or entrepreneurship in general is not, it's a painstaking adventure. You have to give it the patience needed. So, but will instant gratification.
Right.
Once they venture into it and it's not producing what they had expected, especially when it's not producing the same value or the same effect that they saw in others before they ventured into it, they just fizzle out. So that is the major issue here.
Okay, so now let's talk about the place of YADI. That's youth, your organization, Youth Awakening and Development Initiative. What exactly, where's the place of that? This organization, in all of this, is it in providing this training and skills needed, or what exactly?
Okay, where YADI comes in is, of course, we are an organization that we play a prelude responsibility to what the government is actually doing. The government cannot be everywhere at the same time. Now, we understood this, and then we said to ourselves that we can actually contribute to the GDP of the state. Now, what we do in general, we train, we mentor, we empower. This way, we are contributing to human development. Now, when I listed initially what the state government of Enugu State, where their plans are focused majorly on agribusiness, industrialization, and infrastructure development, I do not think that there was a place I mentioned human development. Now, we understood the importance of human development. Now, these three sectors that I just mentioned requires humans to handle these things. If they are not there, the expectation or the target may not be achieved. So where we come in is we train these young people on entrepreneurial skill, employable skill. Then we look at those that are ready to be empowered. We give them necessary apparatus that they need. It could be financial, it could be material. We give them, put them out there. This way we are encouraging startup. This way we are encouraging entrepreneurship. This way we are encouraging businesses. And when there are more businesses, of course, it contributes to the GDP of the states. So that is our own contribution so far.
Okay, great, incredible. So now, if you were asked, while we get to wrap up this session, if you were asked, where do you see entrepreneurship in Enugu State in the next 4 to 5 years? What would you say?
Well, I would say that in the next 4 to 5 years, entrepreneurship would have become a domestic name or a domestic activity for the people of Enugu. I think I was here some time ago, and I mentioned that we are taking our time to carry out orientation program, where we try to give our young people, try to reorient them on the need for entrepreneurship. Now, the governor of Enugu State and his team are doing so well to ensure that you have a thriving ground for your businesses in terms of security apparatus that's putting together in Enugu and all of that. So with these things, with what we are doing at YADI, trying to put these persons together, trying to give them a orientation of what entrepreneurship is and the importance of venturing into it and the necessary ground to thrive, I think that in the next 5 years, everyone in Enugu State should be thinking towards entrepreneurship. That is, if they are not into entrepreneurship already. So that is exactly what my expectation is.
All right, I think that's a good place to leave this conversation. Thank you so much, Timothy, for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. In case you're just joining in, I played also Timothy Ndamani, who is the founder and Executive Director of Youth Awakening and Development Initiative, YADI. And just before we leave, I want to remind you that, well, There's an opportunity for you to win as much as 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025 with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, you may want to visit www.fonzieweb.com/Brand Wars, or you download the Fonzie app available on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, you may call, send SMS, WhatsApp messages to 091 5533 4949. And just so you know, the program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa, who happen to be the season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studios, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Balande Enugu. Coming up next will be Onya Afia. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned.
Hey ladies, join us on Gyna Plus every Wednesday at 6 p.m. right on Afia TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17, where we will delve into health issues affecting girls and women in society.
Breastfeeding doesn't even cause breastfeeding. The frequency of breastfeeding means the approach you take to make sure that your well-being is maintained.
Welcome to the latest and most amazing show on here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lunch Break.
You don't sing along.
I did single. For real.
You're not a backup singer.
That's what they do for it.